Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Hello beautiful people, Wolfman Dan here. Demos. You know what they are? And I played a ton of them. Luckily for you, I chose the 10 best, ignoring ones that either broke me down or just had no impact. For instance, the game that barely worked. A zombie game dripping with too many 80s references. And a game made for streamers that is so outrageous, I had a frown during my whole playthrough. Huh. So load up Steam and start wishlisting. It actually helps the devs a lot, since it pushes their games to get more exposure in this algorithm-driven world. And we all want these games to succeed. Black Book. Not that one. Is about Vasilisa, who is trying to save her loved one that died under mysterious circumstances by finding the 7 seals that unlock the Black Book. It's a powerful magic grimoire that can grant any wish. More indie RPGs please, specifically ones based on folklore mostly ignored by mainstream gaming. The most striking thing about Black Book is the atmosphere, feeling like a perfect Halloween game with its creepy dark woods, muted color palette, and demons roaming around like it's just another day in the life. Gameplay consists of traveling to various locations around the countryside, helping people as the resident witch, solving their demonic woes, and overall just being a pillar of the community. Combat is turn-based, using cards as abilities, which range from various uses, doing damage, raising your shield, and healing. It's important to keep an eye on your defense, since most enemy attacks can whittle your health away pretty fast. Combat is slow but fun, which mixes well with the mood that the game is striving for, as you fight a variety of strange demons. I had a fantastic time just playing it, immersing myself in this atmosphere, this world. Black Book feels a bit different from most indie RPGs, and something you should really look forward to. FEAR is one of my favorite games of all time. Precision shooting, great controls, explosive battles, and some of the greatest horror scenes in gaming. All these combine to create an amazing and unique experience. Trepang 2 is trying to recapture that with slight alterations. The combat is amazing and would make Dad proud. Slide into enemies and see them barrel away, while slowing down time to hit them mid-air. It's really something else playing this. Gunplay is great, with snappy controls and weapons that really feel weighty when used. Sure, you might be sliding all around like you're on the moon, but the guns at least feel realistic enough, especially when you hit someone up close with a shotgun and they go flying. There's also incentive to grab and switch different guns enemies drop, since ammo can run out very fast. You can also become invisible for a limited duration, which is very useful for repositioning, especially when surrounded by a group of enemies wielding shotguns. This is some of the fastest combat I've ever experienced in a while, and one I can talk about for hours. But don't listen to me, go play the demo, it's still out. Download it, load it, have fun, come back to me, tell me what you think. The only issues I have is the environments feel a little bland. It's mostly just an empty office building with a bunch of boxes littered around. The game is also shockingly white, to the point of blinding me, which makes combat very flashy. It also gives me a slight headache after a while. Minus those issues? Damn. Combat alone makes this one of the most anticipated games on the list, and one I cannot wait to get my hands on. Do you enjoy the technical nuance of beat 'em ups but lack the fast reflexes to succeed at them? Well then, happy birthday! Also, it's another deck building combat game.
Another one.
Fights in Tight Spaces is not just a tongue twister, but also a fun roguelike with turn-based combat. You start by drawing 5 cards in your turn. These cards range from movement, repositioning the enemies around you, or simply dealing damage, but even that can have added effects. Levels take place on a grid, and the most important element is positioning. Enemies choose their actions in their first turn and then activate it after you've had time to react. This means you can put them in each other's line of attack, which has devastating results for them. This makes the combat more strategic than the name would imply, and keeps every encounter fresh as you move from room to room. The minimal color palette is used for highlighting enemies and gives the combat more raw energy, with the blood flowing out for every punch and kick. Makes it feel very impactful. Had a lot of fun with this one. Every encounter is an opportunity to try out new tactics as you collect more cards. Some have added objectives, like protecting a diplomat, which lets you reposition them around to avoid enemies. As a video editor, I appreciate a game that lets me create my own cool action scenes. I hope the full game has a replay feature much like Superhot to let them play out after every level. A lot of unique elements utilized very well here. Wishlist it now. Okay, fun activity for everyone watching. I won't name the game this is clearly taking inspiration from. Instead, let me know down below. I have no idea why 2020 is the year of the FPS games with smooth movement, but I am living for it, and I only pray I can afford them all. Climb the tower all while kicking enemies to death, engaging in sword combat or just bouncing off their big heads. The range of moves the character has access to allows so much versatility with enemy encounters. After a few minutes you will feel more like a ninja knight than a shady one. Wait, the shade is a shadow. Shadows hide people. Ninjas. The game does incentivize you keeping your distance though, with giving you very little health, and also most techniques send enemies flying, which allows you to hit them while they're down. Like Trepang 2, there is no better feeling than sliding up to an enemy and kicking them up in the air. And the coolest part, if you're really skilled, you can kick a sword right into their chest. It's a game of two parts as well, since the platform is also really fluid and well done. Jump between ledges, and hang on to hooks as you scale the tower. It's not incredibly difficult, but a lot of fun. Currently I'm a very happy boy due to all these amazing FPS games that are in the pipeline. And I put Shady Knight on the same page as Ultrakill when it comes to fast-paced action and fluid movements. Another game you should be following. Check it out now. I love a good beat 'em up. I mean, who doesn't? It's been a while since I've played one where the right stick is mapped to attack. I'm talking PS2 era. That weird Jet Li game. Anyone remember that? Play a group of 4 ninjas and wreck the lives of a bunch of demons on vacation in the city. Switch between characters on the fly, with each having their own life bar and variation in attacks. This variety already puts it above most beat-em-ups, as managing your team's health becomes important to survive the many fights ahead. Combat is fluid, switching between normal attacks, low or high hits, launching enemies in the air. Stop. I'm noticing a theme here. The fluidity is needed since some enemies are shielded in certain areas of their bodies and require you to hit either their upper, middle or lower part. You also have a counter for projectiles that is needed to break some enemy shields, and specials that increase your attack range and damage. It's repetitive like most in the genre, but the variety gives it a bit more bite for longer sessions of play. Unexpected death and a lot of fun. I didn't get to try co-op, but can see spending a few hours with a friend beating demons to death. Walnut Heart is an elegant, adorable, and charming mixture of Luigi's Mansion and Pikmin. Its visual style reminds me of Where the Wild Things Are books, and has such a warm, inviting glow to it. Playing as the young boy Wake, who are thrust into a magical world of strange creatures and an oppressive eldritch enemy known only as the Dark. The game feels like playing a children's book, with you meeting a variety of odd and quirky characters that help bring more energy to this world. Gameplay consists of using your vacuum cleaner to pick up items out of reach and open areas by twirling fans. The most prominent part of the gameplay though is the spritlings. Feel ready to use them like your nieces and nephews. Throw them around, have them bring objects to you, make them move heavier objects, and finally, throw them at your enemies to let them kick them to death. Family. There are also different kinds of spritlings, from the normal to the fire ones and others in the full game. This all reminds me heavily of Overlord, minus the, being evil stuff. The game was not incredibly difficult or forced me to use much brain power, but it was very charming and a lot of fun. The world presented here brings out my inner child, and I would love more time exploring it. Void Train's demo is the most beautiful yet empty thing I have ever played. Move along an interdimensional train track, enjoying the beautiful sights, staring off into an alien horizon, listening to the incredible music, basking in the wonderful atmosphere. Shit! Sky sharks! In the full release, you get a grapple hook to move to various floating islands along the way and gather materials to upgrade your train. After every resource gathering segment on the train tracks, you enter an arena to fight a bunch of enemies. This is an interesting concept, but the execution is a bit lacking, with the combat feeling heavy and unwieldy as you fight soldiers in a train station. Listen, take it from someone who plays a lot of FPS games. This does not feel great. It's also a moment to gain weapons and material from their fallen bodies. I don't know what these do yet, but I did end up having a bunch of machine guns in my inventory. The demo was clearly an early alpha build, but it looks good so far. The survival genre is huge, so I expect a fair few people to keep their eye on this one. If they create enough interesting worlds to explore and make the gathering and fighting loop interesting enough, I can see myself put a lot of hours into this. The Dungeon of Naheulbeuk is based on a French audio drama parodying the fantasy genre, and it shows. A lot of comedy here, and to be fair, some do miss the mark for me a bit. I do love the vibrant cartoon style of the game and really helps sell this world and differentiate it from most fantasy games. Reminds me a lot of Get Medieval. Another old reference, I know.
I'm going to chop my lunch. That's my lunchbox.
But even though the game has a comedic tone, the gameplay is no joke. Expect a turn-based strategy RPG with incredible depth. Even in the demo, I was surprised that the tactics needed to win. There are 7 characters in your party, each serving their own function. From the stealthily backstabbing thief, the ditzy bow-wielding elven archer, and the stoic, strong, and not too bright ranger. Every character has their strengths and weaknesses, and because of that you cannot brute force your way through every encounter. Tactics are needed, and a little finesse to progress, and trust me, it can go south really quick. Characters also have their own skill trees and equipment to help turn around any difficult fight. Or in my case, not. I'm not really good at these, but I like them. But don't feel discouraged, as the game has most of the staples of the genre. Take cover, go into Overwatch, and get bonuses attacking from either the side or back. If you've ever played an XCOM game, this feels like second nature to you. And it has a tutorial for those looking to learn. It's incredibly solid for a licensed game, and something I recommend fans of turn-based strategy should put on their list. And Pain. Also fans of Pain. You know who you are. My biggest regret with these videos is that I could not give some games the amount of time they deserved, and I had to rush through some of them to get to everyone. In Sound Mind is my biggest regret, as the little I played had me hooked. As surreal as they come in terms of horror, but feeling incredibly grounded with gameplay. I was intrigued from the start, and the game just kept throwing more at me that made me want to continue. Explore the most dangerous place in the world, your mind, as you navigate various unique memories and try to find a way out. It's weird stating a horror game feels solid, but movement doesn't feel stilted and sneaking around feels fair, whereas some horrors tend to handicap you to add more terror. Journeying through the world will eventually lead you to your first boss encounter in a department store. All of this has been set up with audio diaries and notes found around. This part surprised me and further elevated the demo. You sneak around the area avoiding the boss, finding secrets with a mirror piece, and tricking her into looking at her own reflection. It was tense, terrifying, and a lot of fun. This was really the only moment where jump scares were prevalent, but they were justified with you being in real danger and not just to get a cheap scare. In Sound Mind is shaping up to be something genuinely special. In a sea of Steam horror titles, this felt unique and worth the time. I look forward to turning off the lights and playing this late at night. Cards, cards, and even more cards. The second theme of tonight's list. Ring of Pain is interesting, to say the least. It has an unnerving horror aesthetic. A strange gameplay loop that involves collecting gear, fighting enemies, and moving on to different rooms. Levels load in with face-down cards, which get revealed after landing on them. Enemies can be fought or sneak past, and damage is dependent on your attack and how high your speed is, which determines if you land the first blow. Some tiles contain items that give a bonus when used in a room, or just heal you. Certain enemies also do status effects, or have certain elements that affect the room, like the blob that damages the tiles next to it when it explodes, meaning you can lose some items. The circular aspect of the game is tied into the story as well, with the plot having a Groundhog Day element, as every death is a repeat as you're trying to break through the cycle. Getting into the groove of entering a room, taking chances with every move, helping to find equipment instead of enemies makes the game challenging, since any of the face-down cards could mean a quick death. It has that addictive one more run feel of games like Binding of Isaac, which caused me to replay the demo more times than I can count. I need to sink my teeth into the full release, and find a winning formula to exploit. Well, that's another video. 20 games in total, and as stated before, I missed quite a few that were good as well, except Party Animals. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and let me know if you wishlisted some of the games from the previous videos, and which one of these caught your fancy. No more demos for me though, I think it's time to talk about full releases again. Bye bye.